Such a handsome boy. Oh, she got jealous. What about me? Am I handsome? Oh yeah, mommy. You're such a beautiful girl. Okay, oh. I help with the glycogen. Stores. Tux, are you really messing up my pillows? Why do you do this to me? Come on! 'Cause I think I'm falling in love. I think I'm falling in love. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can probably tell, I'm back with the wide angle lens today. After my last sit down video, it was kind of like a 60-40. Most people preferred the wide angle lens, so we're back with it. And before I even get into the topic of today's video, I want to address my sweatshirt, as I know so many people are gonna ask. It is actually a Brooke and Swear sweatshirt. I saw it and I was like, I have to have that, because you guys know I am the snack queen. So I think she might be sold out right now, but it is so cute. It is actually a crop. I don't know if you can tell, but it's super cute. I don't know why exactly I need a crop sweatshirt at 105-degree weather in Florida, but nonetheless. So today's topic was actually inspired by a client email I received during the week while I was doing my check-ins, and she had asked me when it's appropriate to start focusing on meal timing. Now, I think meal timing is something that's been kind of on the rise lately because of RP Strength. RP Strength is getting very, very popular. I think if you don't know what RP Strength is, it's basically a form of dieting that they use, like these templates. My personal feelings on it is for a whole nother video. I don't actually love them, but I do think that their approach to meal timing can be super beneficial. So basically, their structure of RP Strength, and not just theirs, I know a ton of other people who do flexible dieting or paleo, it doesn't have to fit into just RP Strength, right? Like, meal timing can be applied no matter what type of diet you're following. Just to give you guys an example, I will grab a template from RP Strength and put it up here just to show you why their timing has worked so far for their clients. They have their structure of their Excel sheets depending upon whether or not you train first thing in the morning, afternoon, or evening. And so their whole concept is to time your carbohydrates, the majority of your carbohydrates, around your workout window. This is not like super scientific, or like they aren't the first people to have figured this out. It's beneficial to eat most of your carbs pre and post workout, especially if you're doing a very glycolytic sport like CrossFit, weightlifting, high intensity, and pretty much anything that requires strength training and endurance training. So if you're training first thing in the morning, they typically suggest that you have a protein shake during your workout with intra-workout carbs, and then immediately after you're consuming a large chunk of your carbs, followed by throughout the day, your carbs will significantly decrease per meal, and then your fats significantly increase the farther away that you get from your workout window. Basically, the purpose of carbohydrates, whether that's simple carbs, which are fast digesting, or complex carbs, which are slow digesting, is your body breaks them down into glucose. As you are training, weight training, endurance training, even just going about your day, your body's taking energy from glycogen stores. So as you're training, your glycogen stores are being depleted, which is why it's important to have a pre-workout meal that's high in carbohydrates to fill up your glycogen stores, and then a post-workout meal that's also high in carbohydrates to repair your muscles once your glycogen stores have been depleted. When you are training, basically what's happening to your muscles, especially if you are weight training, is you're actually creating these little micro tears in the muscle fibers. And so how our body restores that and how we heal from that is through energy in the form of glycogen and carbohydrates and protein, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's not just that specific meal, it's overall as a whole, but that's kind of why meal timing is important in the sense of pre and post workout meals. The reason why we don't recommend having a higher fat meal pre and post workout is because the fat actually slows down the digestion of carbohydrates. So when your body is trying to take energy quickly to either repair your muscles post workout or fuel them pre workout, the fat will slow them down. So that's kind of why RP Strength and the meal timing in general suggests that you should should have a larger amount of carbs pre and post workout, and then as your day goes on and you're getting farther away from your workout window, you have more fats to not only keep you full, but also so it's not interfering so much with that instant glycogen stored. Pre-workout meals are important. I think it also is kind of a personal preference as far as what you can stomach. So for example, I train in the mornings at like 8 a.m. So my first meal is usually at 7, and it's kind of small, and it's mostly just carbs and protein, whether that's like egg whites on an English muffin, oatmeal and egg whites, just something pretty basic that I can eat quickly, then I can have enough energy and I'm not feeling starving throughout my training. And then immediately after my workout, I'll do a protein shake or smoothie bowl, something with fruits like bananas, blueberries, strawberries mixed with protein powder, and then of course toppings, whatever fits my macros that day. After that, then you can go on to the larger windows where you're not eating as much, you know, like if you have a longer period of time where you're not gonna have like a snack in between your lunch and your dinner or something, you would wanna have more fats in your lunch so that it will hold you over until dinner. So overall, that's kind of like the purpose of meal timing. And getting back to the client email, when she asked me about when it's appropriate to start implementing meal timing, I kind of thought for a minute, and it brought me back to the basics of tracking macros, right? Or even just dieting in general. We kind of want to think of everything like a pyramid. And the reason for that is because if you don't have the base of the pyramid set up and ready to go, you can't just start from the top because your pyramid's gonna collapse. You have to build the foundation first. And that's kind of with anything in life, right? Like dieting is essentially, I don't want to say dieting, but just tracking your macros or learning how to fuel your body properly is kind of like a skill when you think about it, because there's so many different aspects to it. The pyramid, when you're starting with like basic caloric expenditure, that's like the people who are at the bottom who are just learning how many calories they're eating. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're gonna wanna eat less calories than you're burning, you start there. Then you kind of have the next step up of macronutrients, which is taking that calorie amount and splitting it into a specific amount of protein, carbs, and fats to suit your goals. Then you go a step up further from that and you have your micronutrients, obviously, because if you're just eating protein, carbs, and fat full of like, you know, crap food that's not providing your body with any nutrients, that's not really doing you any good either. So after the micronutrients, then you have like your meal timing, where you take all of that, the calories, the macros, and the micros, and you're strategically placing them throughout the day based around your training window, based around, you know, how long you're going without eating, different things like that. And then you have supplements at the tippy top. It's kind of important, I think personally, to look at tracking macros or flexible dieting, whatever it is that you're doing, as a skill. And if you're a beginner, it's really important for you to get the basics down first and think about, okay, what's the base level that I need to accomplish before I can move up to the next step? Then once you get that situated, then you can do the same thing. Okay, I've got my macros to a point. How are my micros looking? Am I eating mostly processed packaged foods? Am I getting enough vitamins in? Am I getting enough iron, potassium, whatever? Once you figure that out and you've locked that in, then we can move on to meal timing. I think ultimately, while meal timing is super beneficial, I don't think that it's something that beginners should go in right off the bat trying to do. And I think I see this a lot of times with clients who get overwhelmed with meal prepping, or, you know, trying to figure out, they're like at the base level of trying to put together meals that fit their macros, and then they're stressing about pre and post workout meals and, you know, all this other stuff. Similarly to how the base of the pyramid is the most important, that holds true for pretty much everything. So even if you're not meal timing appropriately, it really doesn't make as big of a difference as your caloric expenditure does. If you're trying to lose weight and you're not eating in a deficit, which is like the base thing that you need to be doing, it doesn't really matter how you plan your meals. It doesn't matter what your pre or post workout meal is, because if you're not eating in a deficit, you're not gonna lose weight. Same thing with muscle gain. If you're not eating in a surplus and, you know, you're having a bunch of carbs pre and post workout, but you're not eating enough, not gonna build muscle. So that's kind of why I think the pyramid is so important. And while, yes, all of these other aspects to flexible dieting and tracking macros and all that kind of stuff, it is important and it absolutely serves its purpose. But I feel like as a beginner, or as somebody that really hasn't even been tracking macros that long, they should stick to their level that they're at until they've mastered that, and then they move up to the next level. It's kind of like, you know, playing a video game in a sense. When you first start a video game, you don't just go right to the top level and try to win that level. You start at level 1 until you've mastered that, you conquered that level, and then you go to level 2. It seems silly, but you would be surprised at how many people fail or how many people feel like they can't do it because they're trying to do so much stuff at the top level before they've even figured out the base level. And then you throw in so many other things like, what if I train twice a day? What if I train at 4 in the morning? There are some people that train at the butt crack of dawn, and then they need to think about their last meal the night before. So there's like so many different things that have to take place when you're kind of like getting into the nitty-gritty and how to basically amplify your results. So to close out this video, I kind of want to like tag on to that as far as like amplifying your own results, kind of getting out what you're putting in, if you will. And I know that I've referenced this before. I did read an article over the weekend that was from RP Strength. I'm like referencing RP Strength so much in this video, and I don't even like RP Strength, but this article was really good. I feel like it's kind of that tough love that not a lot of people want to swallow. It's like one of those memes that's like a tough pill to swallow and it says something on the bottle, you know? Anyways, so I think that along with the pyramid and along with you personally deciding how strict you want to be, depending on what your goals are, that's kind of what you're going to get out of it. What I mean by that is if you're going into a diet, you have 10 pounds to lose. If you're starting out saying that you want to do cheat meals and you don't want to really track on the weekends and you want to be able to drink and you want to be able to do all of these flexible things, it's going to make your results not impossible, but definitely a lot harder to get there, and your process will probably be a lot longer. When it comes to specific set goals, like, you know, cutting for a weightlifting meet, for example, I'm just using that for myself because that's what I've had to do. When I have 3-4 weeks to cut for a meet, I know that there's no room for having, you know, donuts, going to Jeff's parents' house for dinner and having untracked meals. If I do that, I run the risk of not knowing what exactly I'm eating, not being 100% sure on if I'm going to make weight. You kind of have to think of it as a scale. So your social life and things that you enjoy, drinking, cheat meals, going out to eat, whatever's over here, if you're doing that, it's gonna put this down here, which is accuracy, being in control of how much you're losing per week, knowing what you're eating, etc. When you're not drinking, you're not going out to eat, all of this stuff down here is starting to go down, your accuracy goes up, you're in control of what you're eating, you're probably really on top of your progress. And it's kind of like a give and take, you know, your happiness might be a little bit down, but that's something that you have to accept, right? So if you're going to go into something and you already know that you don't want to be 100% strict with yourself, and you know that you're going to go out to eat, you know that you're going to drink your wine with dinner, or, you know, whatever your vice is, if you know that you're doing that, you can't be disappointed at your results not being 100% or as quick as XYZ. You just can't be upset with that. You have to accept what you're doing. And if that's important to you, if going out to eat on the weekends with your friends or drinking or whatever that is, if that makes you happier, then you have to like step back and say to yourself, okay, this is what I want to do, and so this is going to be affected, but I can't be mad when this gets affected. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that that's kind of something that needs to be accepted more so, instead of thinking that you can do all of this stuff when you have a really strict goal and it's going to be fine, because it's not. So the reason I bring that up is because I know that, you know, I've worked with a ton of clients from the very, very beginning level who've never tracked food before, and then also regional level athletes. And I think that a lot of times people who start and they compare themselves to somebody who's at that level, it's difficult because they're doing the tippy top of the pyramid while having their base all set up, and then, you know, they're sacrificing a lot and they're accepting it, and I feel like it's just it's important to recognize that no matter what stage you are in, even if you're just maintaining. I feel like it's just a good idea to realize what your base looks like, what your own pyramid looks like, and then what exactly you're willing to sacrifice in order to meet those specific goals or not. Or if you're just maintaining and you don't really have a set specific goal, you can't like wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm mad I didn't lose 5 pounds, when you're not doing anything to lose 5 pounds. I think that this is kind of like a discipline thing, kind of a tippy top of the pyramid thing. You know, there's a lot of different aspects that go into whatever your goals are, and I think that gets overlooked. People sometimes think that they're just, as soon as they track their macros, are just gonna be like ripping out of their shirts, just jacked and lean, and that's just not how it works. And sometimes it takes trial and error for people to realize that. Sometimes people have to learn the hard way. But I think it's a great way for people to kind of get a visual representation as far as the pyramid goes, and then kind of, you know, what their goals look like for them based on what they're actually doing. Just little tidbits of information to, you know, keep in the back of your head when you are really set and focused on a specific goal. But then you kind of also have the other side of the fence, like me, for example. Speaking of which, we have new weight classes and I am so excited about it. This is kind of completely off topic, but if you did not know, USA Weightlifting and Powerlifting came out with new weight classes. They took away the 53 kilo class, which was my class, and that was 116.4 pounds, and they replaced it with a 55 kilo class, which is 121 pounds. So I am so pumped about that, because that means like my body naturally sits around like 117, 118, sometimes 119. I don't have to cut for meats anymore. I can just live my life, and I'm so excited. You know, little like food for thought, things that I've been thinking about as I continue on my journey as a nutrition coach and working with different types of people. It's always really interesting to see the way that certain people respond to certain ways of coaching and certain like educational things. And that's why I've been kind of trying to make a point to do more of these educational sit down videos, just because I feel like sometimes people don't think about it. Like I made my micronutrient video, and I had so many comments from people that are like, oh, I never looked at my sodium and I was appalled when I looked at it. And I'm like, yeah, see, we're learning. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss in this video. I kind of touched on everything that I wanted to, I think. So if you enjoyed it, let me know, leave me a comment down below. And that's where I'm wrapping it up. So thank you guys, as always, so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.